Kim here, and I'm back with part 2 of this botanical garden speed build. And I have a name. Obviously, if you're looking at this video, you know the name of this speed build, and I'm calling it the Blooming Garden. I just felt like it was such a beautiful name, and it was so accurate to what's going on here with all of these blooms and flowers and trees. It's just so beautiful. And yeah, here's part 2. So I am in kind of like the first building when you arrive. I guess you can call it more like an info building. Ideally this is like the same or a part of the same structure where you get your tickets at, which is going to be on the left side if you're facing the building. And now I'm upstairs. I'm just trying to configure how to really utilize that space. At first I was just going to let the far right end just be double height, and you could just look up at it, but I feel like what a waste of space to not let your Sims be able to actually come up and peer down and just get on the roof and just really experience this garden at its best. So I decided to make a stairway and like a ledge where you can actually sit out there and just enjoy and socialize and things like that. Here I am using that chandelier that came with spa day, and I'm just overlapping it, and I'm over by the restrooms just adding in a couple of things: sink, toilet, mirror, nothing too special. And just kind of doing the same thing for the 2 restrooms in the reception hall. So yeah, how are you guys doing today? I'm doing fine. I love what I do with that sink in the reception hall. Basically I get kind of like the console table, the marble one, and I overlap it with that I don't know what kind of sink it is, but it kind of gives it a ribbon effect. That sink came with spa day, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it came with spa day. And I'm just adding in some wallpapers here, just trying to get it looking and feeling nice and clean in the bathrooms. And here I am just going back and adding in different wallpapers and floors. I believe the wallpaper in the kitchen is actually from base game, and the floor looks like it came with, I believe that floor came with City Living. Yeah, pretty sure that's City Living. And I'm just adding in a couple of wall lights, even though there's not much wall in the reception hall. I feel like the points of the windows where they meet side by side, it's just enough space to add in a couple of sneaky little wall lights just to really lighten up the place. That way you don't have to completely depend on the ceiling lights above. Back in the courtyard, I switched that tree out with the tree that's from the movie Hangout stuff pack. You don't absolutely need it. I just feel like it gives off just a little bit of extra ambiance. If you wanted to make this tree yourself, there is a tree in base game that's pretty similar, and you can use the move objects cheat on to to raise up some lights. But I love this tree because you don't have to do all that, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. Here I am adding in a couple of chess tables. When you're doing a park, chess tables are actually required, but I didn't mind because I feel like beyond just observing the beauty here, you can work on your logic skill and just get a little bit of socialization going on. I'm just lining the chess table area with some rocks and some trees, making it feel like it's actually part of the park and not just something that's an afterthought. Kind of the same thing over to the far left of the reception hall. I have another one of those trees from the movie Hangout stuff pack, and adding in some of those benches that I believe came with base game. And back over here in kind of like the rose garden or the main wedding area, should you choose to use this to get your Sims married. I got rid of those rectangular rose walls. I just feel like it blocked off so much of the beautiful lake and waterfall below that it was unnecessary. And although those rose walls were gorgeous, they were looking a bit artificial, so I switched them out for some rose bushes from the same pack of the romantic garden stuff pack. And I'm adding in an arch. I was going to use the kind of like the beachy looking one, simply because of the color swatch. However, I feel like the rounded one, I believe it's called the Daddy's Girl Arch, I just feel like it was more appropriate, and I love the ribbons and flowers. I play tested this lot, and I had my sim travel from the very front to over to the left side if you're facing the garden, and they went straight through the bushes. It was so funny. And since I want the Sims to actually utilize the bridge that I made, I concealed a fence underneath all of the outer rose bushes, just to make sure to actually go around and actually experience the botanical garden instead of just cutting through. So yeah, how are you guys doing today? I'm doing fine. I'm here with another early morning voice recording. I'm just so excited. I'm so excited to just share this with you guys, and I hope you all will enjoy. So yeah, here I am just deciding how can I incorporate a little bit more greenery in that bridge so it feels a little bit more overgrown and a little bit more, I guess, one with nature. So I'm going in with these planter boxes that I believe came with base game, and I am also creating some signage. If you know me, you know with my commercial lots I have to do a little bit of branding just to kind of differentiate from all the other lots out there. And yeah, I'm using these awnings that came with Get Together. Yes, Get Together. And I feel like they are gorgeous. And I'm also layering these standalone signs that came with, I believe they came with Dine Out. And I'm putting that little bamboo tree that also came with Dine Out just to kind of convey that this is a place with trees and, you know, greenery and things that are actually natural and grow out of the ground. And I was going to use that sign that came with Get to Work, but I decided to use that more thicker sign that I think is just base game. Here I am just adding chairs into the wedding area. I do cut out a bit of this if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Yeah, I do cut out a bit of it because it was just really, really repetitive. But like I said, I fit 40 chairs here. And when you can't even have 40 Sims in your event, why even keep going? So I filled the space with the piano that was in the reception hall, and I also put out kind of like a check-in table where you can have your book and, you know, your Sims will sign it and things like that, just to let your wedding guests know, your wedding party know that that guest attended. So yeah, here is my really quick attempt at floral pieces in the center of the table. This is from the Cats and Dogs expansion. Usually I do something a little bit more, but this is just to give a general idea. I love the fact that since this is a park, you can easily edit things to meet your specifications while you're on the lot, and you don't have to do it beforehand from the Manage World options. And just adding some more of those lanterns that came with the Perfect Patio Stuff Pack. I also utilized those in the bottom or the basement where we overlap those awnings, also by the wedding arch. Here are these hanging lights that came with City Living, and you may notice them a lot at festivals, and I feel like it was just absolutely gorgeous over here where there's so much greenery and not as much lighting. It's gorgeous to look at. I'm working on a parking deck. Just trying to work out enough space to where I can size up a couple of those model cars and make it look like a parking deck. I know it's small, but like I said in the first video, why make a big parking deck when we can't even really use it? Over here, with kind of like that dome piece that came with the Romantic Garden Stuff Pack, I just lined it with a couple of those unkempt benches, and right now, since it's nighttime, I'm in the process of just adding in different lights here and there. I love that little lotus floor light that came with Spa Day, and when I saw that just really made me decide on the blooming garden, because it's just this beautiful, I believe it's a lotus flower, just this beautiful lotus flower really just blooming and coming to its own. And I was like, yes, That is absolutely perfect. And I didn't want to make it specific to a world because obviously, as long as you have the 64 by 64 lot, you can put this in any world. And I didn't want to call it Windenburg if you decided to put it somewhere else. So yeah, just kind of like in that main building, I am squishing those high back chairs together just to make it look like a high back couch or a high back bench. And over here in will call, I am adding in a couple of seats, and I will add in a couple of computers as well. Even though this area isn't functional as a will call booth, it's still nice. It's still nice. And this is when I was saying in the first video that I wish we had something like a garage door we could open and close at will, because I don't know, to me, I needed something to show that this thing could close. But what I end up doing is using that sign from base game, and I upsized a shelf. And to me, I think that conveys enough that this place can be closed at the end of the night. And just adding in a couple of decor pieces and adjusting all of the foundations just so everything looks nice and sleek. And so I put this bench up here at first. That's not the one I used in the end. I think I used just some more of those high back benches, and I used these other benches that came with Gift to Work, if I'm not mistaken, outside on top of the roof. And here I also placed an easel just in case your Sims get so inspired and they want to paint. And yeah, I think I have 3 easels in all around this lot. And on the bridge, just adding in a bit of lighting. I'm using those lights that came with base game, if I'm not mistaken, and they're just like the wall lights that you can find in the outdoor lights, and I'm using the move object sheet to put them on the post. I love that I love this sculpture. It's like a bird taking flight. Unfortunately, I can't remember what pack it came from at the moment. If I had to guess, it would either be base game or Get Together. But I could absolutely be wrong. But I love that little bird structure. And here I am going in with a lot of the flowers and blooms from the Romantic Garden Stuff pack and filling in those areas where the rose bushes just kind of look a little thin, where they can use a little bit more help and a little bit more fullness from nature. So yeah, just kind of on the just going around placing things. I do get rid of that square fountain in the end, and oh, I love that huge fountain that came with the Romantic Garden Stuff pack. This is actually my first time using it in a build, and I put it in the courtyard. I tried to make it fit in the very front because I just felt like it was so beautiful and such like a staple object in this build, but I give it its own shine in a larger area of the courtyard, and I will move it there in just a little while. I use some of those, I think they're called Model Citizen bushes, and the unkempt bushes to kind of fill in that space from the stairs. I just hope that no one tries to quote unquote fertilize that bush because it's right in the front and we have plenty of space to go to the bathroom. Please, Sims, do not fertilize these bushes here. And I'm just filling in the lake area with more greenery just to make it look a little bit more natural, a little less pool-like and a little more lake-like. And I'm just absolutely going to town with these rose wall bushes. I don't even know what to call it. These rose things that came with the Get Together pack. And I'm actually throwing in a couple of trees in the lake just to kind of convey some overgrown greenery that may be coming out the walls, just to kind of hide some of those edges and sharp points. So yeah, just adding in a couple of rocks And this room down here is going to be a kitchen and a bathroom area. Just in case your Sims wanted to bring their gathering down to the basement or down to the lower part of the botanical gardens, they can do so without having to constantly run back and forth upstairs to the reception hall and things like that. So yeah, we have a kitchen. We don't have a traditional stove, but I do put in a barbecue. Like I said, if you wanted your Sims to do something out here, of course it will be a little less formal, a little bit more, I don't even know what word I want to use, a little bit more casual. Yeah, a little bit more casual. So, you know, they can barbecue a couple things on the grill, whether it's burgers or grilled fruit or whatever. And yeah, they'll have access to all the amenities that they would have upstairs. Of course, with this being not the more formal area, things are a little bit more open, specifically the bathroom. So use extreme caution, even though I do kind of close it off. I don't know, it just feels open because the sink is in like a separate spot from the toilet. So you know. But yeah, I just really love how this whole build came out. At first I added in those tables just in case you wanted to go into build and buy mode and rearrange that bottom area. You will already have some equipment to do so, but in the end I get rid of them, and I'm using that same method with those pillars in the parking deck of using move objects on to raise up the lights just to kind of illuminate the area, just so it's not so dark. And I believe both of those lights that I use in this area are from base game. And I'm adding in a couple of those flags, those roof flags. I think they're just base game as well, if I'm not mistaken. They're either base game or get together. I love this large clock. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And I put another one on the back side. That large clock came from Get Together. And I also put in a kind of like, it's not necessarily like a Big Ben clock because that clock is not big at all, but in the sense that it can stand alone. It's kind of like a grandfather clock. I throw another one over there, and I'm just lighting up the place with these street lamps that came with the Romantic Garden stuff pack. And I'm adding just a lot of greenery just to make it feel nice and lush and natural. So in the back corner, I don't think you can really see it now from this angle, but there's this little sculpture that is just covered in greenery that came from the Romantic Garden stuff pack, and I felt like it was so gorgeous that it needed its own little inset area where you can go in and really get a closer look at the artwork. A lot of the main points of this build, they have like a little plaque where you can read a quote description about it, just to kind of give you the feel that this is nature and art really coming together. And here I am just looking for a little bit of extra signage. And those are the little plaques I was telling you about. So at the different points, like the wishing well, and the courtyard and the topiary, things like that, there's a little bit of a description. And I also used that kind of camping map that came with the outdoor retreat pack. Not absolutely necessary, but I do feel like it gives it just a little bit more something. Here I am just working on the initial the initial water feature when you first come into the park, and just adding in some square grass tiles. Well, they're not really tiles, but square grass patches on top of that roof. Yep, and these are the model cars I was telling you guys about that I'm just going to size up and put in different spaces just to convey that this is a parking lot. And I feel like it just adds a little bit more realism into the game, and it looks so good in live mode. It really does. I like it. I like it a lot. And just kind of covering that kind of awkward angular piece. And this is where I get rid of those water jets and add in those waterfalls from Spa Day. Yes, Spa Day. Like I said, I loved the way it looked before. It was just too loud. It was absolutely too loud. Like, you guys would dread getting married here if I would have left all of those jets here. And I'm really trying to conceal this area as much as possible with these tables and the floors. Well, they're not really floors. These tables and chairs, if I'm not mistaken, from the outdoor retreat pack, and with some of the rocks from base game, just trying to make it all look as natural as possible. And I add in a couple of plants and things afterwards. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to be wrapping up this video in a few and getting into kind of a bit of a tour and a look around of this place. I hope you guys enjoy it, and leave me a comment about what you would like to see next. This is probably one of the biggest builds that I have done, and especially from the landscaping aspect. This was huge, but I enjoyed it, and I just can't wait to build more for you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if you haven't seen part 1, be sure to check it out. I will link it down in the description bar below. And if you decide to download this on the gallery, let me know what you think. Let me know if your Sims have gotten married here, things like that. Also, don't forget to follow me on my social media, which is all in the description bar below. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.